one of the big lessons that you also have to learn in your public appearances when you are appearing, it is not about building a personality, your profile, which is a big issue, I think, for most civil society organizations that are running campaigns. I've seen that the personalities may run bigger than the campaigns themselves, and will not go far beyond that personality that would have been built. But it is about controlling the discourse and the narrative. I think when you are appearing in the public, whether in debates, whether in press statements, in the media, it is about controlling and maintaining the narrative. Because many times, anything that goes viral, anything that has got the potential for impact will find riders. And these riders have got their own agendas, they've got their own narratives, their own, discourse that they want to formulate and have, go down there to the people. So you have to be able in your public appearances to control the discourse. You have to maintain the narrative. We had some instances where in our press statements and in our debates, we had to be explaining what the How Far campaign was, that it's not a political campaign, it's a civic campaign, it's an accountability campaign. It will ask whoever is in government. It doesn't matter who is in the government of the day at that particular point in time. So it was about creating that discourse and that narrative. So your public appearance has to be very intentional. It has to be very, very intentional. And I think many times we run the risk of being very subjective and not being very objective. There's nothing wrong with being subjective. It depends with the approach. But I think if you're running an accountability campaign, you have to be very intentional and clear that whichever is the government of the day, you will fearlessly ask the questions. If your questions will make one political party to feel comfortable, then it's not an accountability question. We had to do public appearances where we were asking the national government. So if you look at our political arrangement, the national government is controlled by a ruling party, one political party. But we have local authorities that are controlled as well by another political party. And we had to do our public appearances on both to show that we are objective. Our press statements, our messaging, our public debates will debate public service delivery at the local authority level. So everyone was made uncomfortable by our public appearances. We didn't want to make anyone comfortable. And I think that was the idea that we had. And it also built, in terms of our public appearances, on new public voices. I think it's a key issue if you're planning a campaign, that you must have new public voices.
One would take that it was an opportunity for Zimcode and Janet as the leader there to headline themselves and really drive their profiles. But I think there was insight in what we're trying to build. As Janet says, that it was better for the campaign to decentralize the voices. And one of the things that we've learned on in our experiences, or especially in our experiences, TBGA and growing campaigns, is once a sentiment or a discourse is narrowed down to an individual, you end up dealing with a profile. For me, I saw one of the best campaigns that happened in Zimbabwe that were like citizen-driven, but also died, is a campaign that once happened, I think in 2016, when a guy who's a pastor comes and say, I am tired of this country because when I look at this flag, I see the promises that I can't live. And people started to rally with that campaign as this flag, except that when it got to the heights, I remember at some point, people voluntarily went to a night vigil when the guy was arrested, and people would not leave the magistrate's court until the guy was released. But as voices were trying to jump onto that campaign, you started having a statement that, no, these are not part of us, we are this flag, these are, and once you have that in a campaign, it's not going to last long. And I think we had such an experience with, even with How Far, where we were trying to address the issues that students are facing. And we will latch into an existing campaign that has actually found traction to say, we're running with this issue, and someone writes to you and say, no, but I wrote that campaign, this campaign is mine, you can run with it. While we understand that there could be an issue with copyright, which we respect very well, but there's also an issue around this industry in the CSO where they're gatekeepers of ideas. And yet, if you could actually collaborate with people and collaborate with causes, you could build a bigger campaign and you could actually punch above your weight and hit more impact.
Yes, so the issue of public voice, new voices, new narratives will give you more. I think that is one of the big lessons that you just have to learn to deal with when it comes to public appearances, that it is not only you. We had to learn a lot of decentralizing of the voice, the narrative itself that we were, of course, controlling so that it remained focused and it remained on course. And we decentralized it in a number of ways. We had community-based organizations, CBOs, as an example, that had very specific issues that they were dealing with, that they had to address. So that brought in a whole lot of new voices around the campaign. Not only new voices, but also new faces. Sometimes the narrative can become very tired in campaigns. So for you to re-energize the narrative, for you to re-energize the struggle, you need new voices, you need new faces, you need new, public appearances. So we had to build that and build that kind of capacity. And I think we have given that this flag is an example of phenomenal, I think, social movement. This gown was one of those big ones that we dealt with because we're dealing, for example, with youth issues. And we have people writing and saying, but this is my campaign. Yes, we do understand. But how do we work together? We said, let's personalize the struggle. You can take it and start asking the how far questions within the hashtag discount when you're asking about jobs, when you're asking about unemployment as an example. So I think this was one of the big lessons that we learned, and that we hope that you also take on board as you design your own campaigns.